Building Strong New Zealand Muslim Families. FIANZ First Stakeholder Forum report. Dr. Mustafa Farouk, FIANZ First Vice President and DAVA Coordinator. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. According to the census figures of 2006, about 37,000 Muslims were resident in New Zealand from various ethnic backgrounds. These Muslims belong to different Islamic associations and trusts that are organised around 7 regional organisations throughout the North and South Islands of New Zealand. These regional organisations and associated trusts form the Federation of Islamic Associations of New Zealand, known as FIANZ.
Very historic day, having representatives of the Muslim community from all over New Zealand coming here to have the Stakeholders Forum, which is looking at how do you build stronger families in the Muslim community. That's something that's really important to all New Zealanders, that young people have a sense of being valued, have good guidance in their lives, that they do well in life, they don't get involved in drugs or crime. That's something that's relevant not just to Muslim families but to all New Zealand families, but because we have the imams here who are teachers and give guidance in the mosques, it's a very important topic to talk about, and I'm really pleased that we're having this, the first Muslim Stakeholders Forum here at the New Zealand Parliament.
This is in the heart of New Zealand politics, in the Parliament, and we should be all proud of it, and I am hopeful that we are able to do this in the future on an annual basis.
One of the roles of FIANZ is to engage various stakeholders on behalf of New Zealand Muslims in order to create an environment in which Muslims can live and practice Islam peacefully and be able to contribute to all aspects of the New Zealand society. As part of its effort to improve engagement with stakeholders, FIANZ recently introduced a yearly Stakeholder Forum.
Well, I think this in a way is a very historic occasion for this meeting to take place in Parliament. It's important because the way that the Muslim community in New Zealand will move forward is working together with other communities, and FIANZ has shown a lot of leadership in developing relationships with stakeholders, both government and non-government, other faiths, the Human Rights Commission, other community groups, and I think that that's the important key to developing a strong Muslim community in New Zealand, is to be a Muslim community that's secure in the wider New Zealand community.
I think for Muslim families, like all families, most families do really well. Some struggle at times and some don't work very well at all ever. And so it seems to me that for Muslim families and ethnic families, one of the strengths they have is their cultural values about supporting each other, about being there for each other, about looking after each other. But I think where we get lost is trying to work in a different society which is very materialistic. So I suppose what I've been trying to do today is to say to people that the most important thing we have is family, and that we need to invest time in it and we need to invest support.
Our focus is mainly on family. As you can see, currently the issue of whānau, youth and women, family violence are very hard to every New Zealanders. It affects also the Muslim community. So it is about time for us, from the Muslim leadership, to wake up to the reality of the issue and be part of the government's mainstream program and initiative, so that our community can benefit in the program as well.
We want to see families strengthened, and particularly that we take pride being Muslim families, being very strong families, and this forum is supposed to provide a basis for developing stronger families, stronger children and mothers and fathers, so we can live in a more educated, we get some more education for our people, and make sure that we interact with other communities, and that we make sure that we all live in a peace and a harmony.
I think that strong Muslim families in New Zealand is going to be increasingly important to us. What we have is a situation where our population currently is beginning to age. The number of Māori and Pacific children relatively will increase, and we will rely increasingly on migrant families and other communities who have joined us to actually be, if you like, creating our children and young peoples for the future. So I think what we face is a situation where increasingly both ethnic minority and also migrant families and also communities such as Muslim, religious communities such as Muslim communities will become far more important. The message that I think New Zealand needs to take on board is not only that it's inevitable and in good, in fact, but we will have to find ways to deal with the kind of diversity that our society will need to face and is currently facing actually. And we need to do that in a way which is mutually respectful.
I think it's a very positive gesture, very important for the Muslim community to share with a range of officials their perceptions of New Zealand, their concerns, and to make better known to officials how best they can help your community.
I think that it's very well done that they've organised this forum and that they're engaging with government, and it's important that that Muslim communities here, and particularly Muslim leaders, begin to understand more fully the environment that we're living in, what the government is doing, so that we can link into government programs and get the benefit for the Muslim communities to ensure that as communities, as families, that we're doing the best we can in this environment.
Building the bridge between the two communities, and policing is a big family. When you talk to police officers, we see ourselves as a big family. Building the bridge between our communities is fundamental. It's critical to our business.
Like, do you have any issues with the Muslim community here in this country?
Police doesn't have an issue with the Muslim community, but what we have seen is hate crimes, race-related offending, offending against mosques, and we've seen a number of offences where the Muslim community and other faith-based communities have been victims. And we represent, from a government perspective, the victims in this country. That's really, when you think about police, we investigate crime on behalf of victims and then represent those victims in forums such as court or in looking at restorative justice processes. We are the strong voice on behalf of victims. So when you are a victim as a community, we're there to represent you.
Well, I think it's very important that New Zealand policies ensure that all the communities in New Zealand, and of course it's an increasingly diverse spectrum of communities, all the communities feel part of the country and know what's expected of the citizen and know their own rights and what they're entitled to from government. So I think that this has been an excellent initiative on the part of FIANZ to put government in touch with this important community and to begin to have the sort of conversation that we can have to ensure that everybody feels part of this society and that we have a common commitment to ensuring good security, good integration, good family relationships in the country.
First of all, we're very pleased to be invited. We consider the Muslim community to be an important community within the wider New Zealand community, and we found the discussions very useful, and we're looking forward to working with the Muslim community more in the future.
Key institutions coming with the Federation, we thought perhaps it will be timely to organize a forum on the issue of families, which is also important to the Muslim community, and what better place than the Parliament. So when we approached this subject with our Muslim MP and our Ethnic Affairs Minister, Chris Carter, both of them were enthusiastic, and they offered the Parliament as the venue to launch. And having close relationship with the Federation, we took the opportunity and we decided to launch it for the benefit of the community as well as the government and other NGO sectors.
On June 30, 2008, FIANZ held its first Stakeholder Forum at the Banquet Hall of Parliament Buildings in Wellington. The theme of the forum was to build strong New Zealand Muslim families. The event aimed at bringing together the imams and leaders of the New Zealand Muslim community to dialogue with representatives of the government and non-governmental organisations that directly impact on the New Zealand Muslims' ability to raise strong families.
The government wants to get people from throughout the Muslim community, but particularly the imams who are in the role of teachers, to talk about how we can strengthen families, how especially we can give good guidance to young people not to become involved in crime, to do well at school, and to have a sense of place in our country. And we'd like to see, growing out of this, more awareness in the Muslim community about guidance for young people, opportunities for young people. One of the things that I talked this morning about with representatives was I've just recently given out the awards to the top scholars in New Zealand. 7 of them were our top scholarship students. One of them was a young Muslim girl from Fiji. So it's good to see that young people from the Muslim community are already succeeding in New Zealand, but we want to make sure that all young people are successful.
I think FIANZ has a unique role because it is a federation of all the different Islamic associations in New Zealand. I think that Javed Khan and the council have provided a connection to the community and provided leadership. And I think New Zealand has really benefited from a positive, constructive, engaging form of leadership that I think probably puts us ahead of many other countries in terms of understanding and connection between Muslim communities and the rest of society.
FIANZ is forming a very important role as an advocate and a facilitator for dialogue in the Muslim community and practical help for people. I'm really impressed that Javed Khan, the president of FIANZ, is here with his executive. It's their partnership with the Office of Ethnic Affairs that has created this Stakeholders Forum. I'm really impressed with the work that FIANZ is doing.
The Muslims are very well settled here. They are well respected for their religious beliefs and also being good New Zealanders. It's good that they have FIANZ now, that it's an amalgamation of all of them, and your president's a wonderful person. He's a good advocate for you.
Well, I think FIANZ has come of age over the last nearly 25 years or more. It has now, over recent years, started taking a lot of interest in promoting the interaction for our people, the Muslim community with the wider community, and particularly involving and engaging with the government agencies and with, of course, being engaged with other interfaith in a dialogue, other communities. I think it's a fantastic opportunity, a foundation for us to promote Muslim values, Muslim families, and the activities of the Muslim community in this country.
The forum was attended by the Prime Minister, Helen Clark, some of her ministers and parliamentary colleagues, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the New Zealand Muslim leadership, top officials of many New Zealand government departments and non-governmental organisations, as well as members of the general public. Before the inaugural speech by the Minister of Ethnic Affairs, Parliament Kaumatua Bob Pineto welcomed the forum attendees with the traditional Maori mihi, and then the chairman of FIANZ Ulama Board, Sheikh Akbar, recited a chapter from the Quran pertinent to the forum's theme of strong families. The Prime Minister, Helen Clark, enumerated some of the policies of her government, including connecting diverse community projects, building bridges programs, a statement on religious diversity, the Asia-Pacific Interfaith Forum, the Alliance of Civilization Forums, and the establishment of the Islamic Studies Centre, among others, as policies that create the environment within and outside New Zealand conducive to building strong Muslim families. The Prime Minister acknowledged the fact that strong families are not built by governments, but rather are built on love and support for each other. A document on New Zealand's plans to support Alliance of Civilization programs was presented by the Prime Minister at the forum, and she thanked FIANZ for working for New Zealand Muslims and for its relationship with the New Zealand government.
Whenever I go to FIANZ related meeting, or an imams related meeting, or a mosque, I'm struck by the fact that the whole United Nations is there. That there are people drawn from right around the world, united by faith, from many, many different ethnicities. It is an incredible religion. We can say, of course, the same in Christianity, the same in many great faiths that bring people together from so many different cultures. And it's what makes the great faiths particularly fascinating. The power of an idea transcends what might otherwise be barriers between people. So I believe that here in FIANZ, you share with our government the objectives of ensuring that New Zealand Muslims from all backgrounds are respected and valued for the contribution they make to New Zealand. Thank you very much.
Javed Khan, the president of FIANZ, outlined the role that the association plays as the umbrella organisation of New Zealand Muslims, particularly in the areas of building bridges and engagement with the wider society. He said FIANZ, as a representative organisation with roots firmly established in local and regional communities throughout the country, see it as its role to work with government and its agencies towards the common objectives outlined in various initiatives.
We are here today because we believe and trust in the power of family. Today, our children are exposed to multiple sources of information and influence through their peer groups, the mass media, and the internet.
Javed stated that the first Stakeholder Forum chose the theme to build strong New Zealand Muslim families because strong and stable families form the foundations of a strong society. He then continued that we are here today because we believe and trust in the power of family. He emphasised the role of parents in providing a secure, warm and caring home environment and in instilling positive values in their children.
More imperative for parents to be the moral compass and guide their children through life's journey in this brave new world. With both parents working as a team, they create a secure, warm and caring home environment to instill positive values in their children.
The New Zealand Minister of Ethnic Affairs, Chris Carter, inaugurated the forum. In his speech, the Minister underlined the government's strong commitment to building a society where everyone is respected. He confirmed that in 2005, New Zealand launched the Building Bridges program as a strategic project to engage Muslims.
Many of you have attended here at Parliament, in this very room, our celebration of Eid al-Fitr, which I hope you'll be able to come and join us again on the 30th of September this year in the same venue to celebrate that very important Muslim festival and also send a message to the rest of New Zealand that we are now a country of many faiths, and every faith is deserving of respect in our country and is now part of our country. And so that celebration here at Parliament, the place where all of the representatives of New Zealand gather together as the government of this country, is a very important message to send out. I have to say that it would be good when other countries like Australia and the United States and so on take this opportunity too to start celebrating their diversity as we have done here in New Zealand.
The Ethnic Affairs Minister placed emphasis on the fact that we are all stakeholders today, whether Muslim or not, young or old. We all have an interest in building a strong New Zealand, where everyone feels valued and part of the country.
To conclude, I'd like to reiterate the point that we are all stakeholders here today, whether we're Muslim or non-Muslim, young or old. We all have an interest in building a stronger New Zealand, where every New Zealander feels valued and part of our country. Thank you very much for coming today.
A member of the New Zealand Parliament, Dr. Ashraf Chowdhury, spoke and enumerated some of the initiatives of the New Zealand government that he believed has helped to create an environment that supports the building of strong Muslim families. These initiatives include A, the provision of interest-free student loans, which will enable Muslims to go to school without worrying about taking usurious loans. B, the shared equity housing scheme, which will operate on a profit and loss basis and will provide no-interest loan opportunities for low-income families to buy their first homes. And C, the opening of an Islamic Studies Centre at Victoria University of Wellington.
And afterwards said to all the communities is that it's a fantastic opportunity to teach, to get our children in the university and into tertiary education. And there's no reason for any of our children to not to go to tertiary education, because you've got the money, go to the husband, you go to study. And that's what most of us have come to this country to educate our children, to get better education for all our children. So this is one way we can do, and this government has made sure that that opportunity is there for you as a Kursi Hasana.
Professor Paul Morris, the Program Director of Religious Studies Department of Victoria University in Wellington, used the forum's platform to launch the National Centre for the Study of Islam. The centre will focus on the study of Islam in New Zealand and the Asia-Pacific region. Professor Morris called for the centre to be supported in a similar fashion as the centres in Australia have been supported, by grants from wealthy Middle Eastern countries.
I've particularly found valuable the opportunity today to announce to FIANZ the establishment of a Centre for Islamic Studies and Muslim Communities in New Zealand. This is a national centre supported by the government and by the Tertiary Education Commission. This is a joint project by Victoria and Otago universities, and the aim is to establish a research centre led by an international scholar, a specialist in Islamic studies, and who not only will pursue his own research at a high level, but will be responsible for a new generation of Islamic studies scholars. The hope is that the centre will play an important role in relation to government, nationally and locally, in terms of a leadership role for Islamic studies, Islamic issues in New Zealand.
The event's main activities were divided into 4 sessions with sub-themes focusing on different aspects of developing strong New Zealand families. Each session of the forum included a panel of speakers followed by a question and answer session. Sultan Yusuf, Executive Officer of FIANZ, was the forum's Master of Ceremonies. The first session, sub-themed Building a Strong Community, and chaired by Javed Khan, the FIANZ President, was addressed by Joris de Brie, Commissioner of Race Relations, Professor Paul Morris, and Fazila Raza, the National Operations Manager of the Office of Ethnic Affairs. In his speech, Joris de Brie said that a strong community creates an environment for strong families. He acknowledged the resilience of the New Zealand Muslim community after 9/11 in the way the community engaged others and refused to be silenced. He observed that for communities like the New Zealand Muslim community to have survived an environment such as the one created in the aftermath of 9/11, the community must 1. Not feel victimised, 2. should have a strong sense of humour, 3. possess a thick skin, 4. develop public relations strategies, and 5. engage with other communities.
But you have actually come out of it feeling much more confident and much more connected. And I think you've done that through building understanding, through engagement with government, engagement with other faith communities, engagement with your local communities, engagement with other organisations that are active in promoting and valuing diversity in New Zealand, such as your participation in the Diversity Action Programme, and engagement with the media.
Professor Paul Morris described the Muslim community as one of the most active and open communities in New Zealand. This openness was exemplified by the Muslim community through its umbrella organisation, FIANZ, being the first to recognise the religious diversity statement. Professor Morris observed that FIANZ is strategically actively building a public profile while keeping the Muslim community open. These strategies, according to him, are ingredients for building a strong community, one that raises its young to have confidence in their faith. Hijab wearing as a symbol of identity and the importance of identity in building a strong community were discussed by Professor Morris.
I think it's an honour to be here for the first FIANZ Muslim stakeholders meeting. It seems like in itself it's indicative of the sort of innovations and new ideas that have come out of FIANZ. And FIANZ has played a very unique role, not just for Muslim communities in New Zealand, but in terms of interfaith. The first religious group that endorsed the diversity statement wasn't the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church, but was FIANZ. And in terms of mosque open days, in terms of the events in Parliament, the Eid event, but also at national and local level, the interfaith activities have been supported by FIANZ in a kind of unprecedented way. And the importance of this is that a strong FIANZ has been good for interfaith, good for community relations in the country. So I think they've played a major and a significant role, and hope they continue to do so.
Fazila Razar discussed the changing face of New Zealand Muslims and explained the role of the Office of Ethnic Affairs. She particularly emphasised the aims of the Building Bridges program her office initiated to include building relationships between Muslims and other New Zealand communities, promoting positive awareness and visibility of Muslims in New Zealand, and partnership with existing Muslim organisations and projects.
So as a society, New Zealand is dealing with some interesting changes that have happened really very recently.
The second session of the forum was sub-themed Building Strong Families. The session was chaired by Dawood Azimullah and addressed by Dr. Rajin Prasad, Commissioner of the Families Commission, Dr. Cindy Cairo, Commissioner of the Children's Commission, and Anne Dozart, Manager of Family and Community Services of the Ministry of Social Development. Dr. Prasad, in his speech, said, "There is no perfect family, and there is not one thing that makes a family strong." He, however, suggested that 4 things are needed in building a strong family. 1. The society the family belongs to must be supportive of family. 2. Its government policies must be consistent with the need of the family. 3. Its neighbourhoods must be strong. And 4. There must be love and mutual respect in the family.
Promoting now and having this conference is a very useful signal, both to the Muslim community and to others, that this community has arrived, they're here as a permanent part of New Zealand, and they should be taken seriously. So I think that's an important point.
Dr. Cindy Cairo defined the role of Children's Commissioner as one that ensures children's voices and their rights are not overlooked in the development and implementation of policies, services and practices in government and non-government sectors. These rights are contained in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, and the relevant ones to the theme of strong family include 1. The right to be with family. 2. To have a secure identity, including name, a nationality, a safe and secure family life, and a culture. And 3. To be protected from discrimination, harm, abuse, or exploitation of any kind. Dr. Cairo highlighted a number of issues immigrant families face in their new environments, such as changes in value systems, language barriers, and lack of employment, and recommended organisations that can assist families meeting these settlement challenges. In order to have a strong family, according to Dr. Cairo, the foundations must be sound, relationships strong, and understanding and empathy by parents towards their children and young people paramount.
I think that a human rights framework, as we talked about today, is one of the soundest basis on which we can do that, because it recognises and respects the right of people to practice their religious beliefs to demonstrate their ethnic diversity and their culture, and have a sense of belonging to here, particularly through their children and young people, and that's based on rights that they have. We need to do that in a way that is respectful of each other and means that we can negotiate about the things that are important to each of us.
For the Muslim world, one of the other things I've seen is there's such diversity, such cultural diversity, that there could be better links and better supports across the different ethnic groups as well. And there must be ways you can do those things.
And Syed used the concept of moi moya to highlight the importance and characteristics of a strong family. Families that are strong are richly connected with their communities and are able to support their members' well-being, identity, participation in society and interdependence. And drew the attention of the forum attendees to some of the family issues in New Zealand, including violence on the streets and in homes, loneliness, the changing role of older people, conflict for young people, and retaining and maintaining the best of culture and language. In order to build strong families, according to Anne, communities should be working together, should be willing to compromise and discuss difficult issues, and individuals must take action, invest time in the family, and be courageous about tackling issues. The third session of the forum, chaired by Anjum Rahman and sub-themed Building Strong Youth and Women, was addressed by Sheena Glissner, the Chief Executive of the Ministry of Women's Affairs, Sharon Cole, Deputy Chief Commissioner of the Families Commission, Police Superintendents Bill Searle and Bill Harrison, National Managers of Community Services and Youth Service Groups respectively, Sergeant Rakesh Naidu, Police Ethnic Responsiveness Coordinator, and Mike Green, Deputy Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
Chairing the session on women, and there are quite a few issues around Muslim women that do need attention. I think around language issues, around isolation, but the most important thing about Muslim women is that we're very visible as opposed to other ethnic minorities because of the way we dress. We are very visible, and so sometimes that makes us the target of attacks and makes us more victimised as we move out in public.
How does a Muslim woman see herself in New Zealand society?
I think that many of them are very happy to be living here. You know, they have a lot of freedom, they have opportunities to work. Yeah, it's a society that is conducive to women being involved and active in the community, and I think a lot of them enjoy that. Yeah.
The session is a focus on women and youth, and as I think we all would know, that Muslim women are the visible face of the Muslim community, obviously because of the way we dress and the fact that we stand out, generally a lot more than our men folks, other than a few of our sheikhs who will dress in a more ethnic fashion, but generally it's the women who stand out more. And so we are therefore subject to, or generally the cause of, most of the criticism that is targeted towards the Muslim community.
Sheena Glissner explained that the role of her agency is to develop strategic policies to make life easier for women and mentioned childcare and parental leave as examples of areas her agency is involved in. Sheena explained her agency's vision for all New Zealand women to have resilience, real choices and a thriving society. Resilience is when all women are confident, economically independent and their tasks of caring are valued and supported. Real choice is when no woman is forced to stay in a relationship against her will and that all women work in occupations they choose. Thriving society is when all women and girls are nourished by society, communities and families, and in turn are nourishing the society of which they are a part. These visions and policies help build confident women capable of raising strong families. She mentioned some of the issues confronting women in general and concluded her speech by saying, "It is okay to ask for help."
So this is a real opportunity perhaps for Muslim women to be able to show leadership. The demands to be on boards are very, very high, so it's not easy, but maybe this is an opportunity. And we also do international work, which I won't talk about today. That's quite a lot for 40 people.
Sharon Cole highlighted the task expected and the level of influence exerted by families, the community and the wider environment in building strong families. She used the family strength model of Syed and Dufresne, 1985, to explain some of the factors that help create a strong family. Some of these factors include 1. Strong commitment to each other and not letting work or other priorities take too much time away from the family. 2. Appreciation and affection with members caring deeply for each other and expressing it. 3. Positive communication, which entails parents and children getting comfortable with each other to allow issues to be discussed without blames and condemnations, listening and asking questions rather than trying to read each other's minds, and using humour to put each other at ease. 4. Spending time together and doing things that everyone likes. 5. Spiritual well-being, with family members having faith in God, which results in feelings of hope, peace, optimism, and a oneness with the world and all its creatures. And 6. An ability to cope with stress and crisis.
The family that we nurture, we rear, and we socialise our children. We bring our children into the world. And we protect them, and we protect our family members across the generations. So it's that span from the very youngest to the very oldest in our community.
The position of the police in relation to building strong youth and women was presented by Superintendents Bill Searle and Bill Harrison and Sergeant Naito. Superintendent Searle spoke about the refreshed approach to community policing and the part the Muslim community plays in that approach. Superintendent Harrison gave the police perspective on building strong youth and women. And Sergeant Naito spoke about the police ethnic strategy and finished with some initiatives that the police believe will assist the Muslim community and the police to work together in the future. The refreshed approach to community policing, according to Superintendent Searle, includes the appointment of a National Community Policing Manager and Group at National Police Headquarters for the first time, the allocation of an extra 250 community policing staff across the country, the acknowledgement that each community is different and that responses should match local conditions on a local level, defining community policing for the New Zealand context, and the development of a model and 10 core community policing principles to guide community policing. Superintendent Searle said all the initiatives in the refreshed approach emphasise the importance of communities and the need for police to work in partnership with other agencies, both government and non-government, and with the community to solve community concerns and issues.
I think the important thing for us is the offer for members of the Muslim community to come and talk to us about our ethnic strategy, to make sure that we incorporate your points of view into our strategy. For me, that was a high-level strategic point, but an important one.
Superintendent Harrison discussed violence in the family and suggested that it is an issue in the Muslim community as well as across all New Zealand families. He reported that up to 85% of family violence cases reported to police have a female victim, and listed a range of initiatives the police have to improve response to family and sexual violence. Youth offending is not out of control, according to Sergeant Harrison. Quote, "We are not plagued by vicious gangs of violent young offenders, and New Zealand is not a haven for criminal youth," he said. Of the approximately 760,000 young people who get up and go to school every day, about 4% come to police attention. Issues involving youth are dealt with through the youth justice system.
For us to be successful, our ability to know your needs, know your concerns, and then make our services meet those needs and concerns, we would never be able to do that if we didn't have forums like this. This is the start, I think, of many that we will have to enable us to better understand what you need from your police service.
Superintendent Harrison also spoke about the Crime Substituted Section 59 Amendment Act, better known as the anti-smacking legislation. The amendment removes the defence of using reasonable force against a child for the purpose of correction or domestic discipline, and provides clarity around what reasonable force may be used for other purposes, such as protecting a child from harm, providing normal care, and preventing the child harming others. He said the outcomes of 2 reviews have shown that the fears that the anti-smacking law would lead to the unnecessary prosecution of parents and the removal of children from their homes is unfounded. Sergeant Naido discussed the police ethnic strategy and said one of the outcomes of this strategy is that culturally appropriate strategies are implemented with ethnic communities that increase community safety, prevent and reduce crime, road trauma and victimisation. He elaborated on several initiatives that were developed by the police to support the implementation of the ethnic strategy. Some of these initiatives include the development and use of a multilingual phrasebook that includes common everyday phrases in 42 different languages to assist frontline police officers when communicating with people who have English as their second language. A religious book to provide information to help police frontline officers gain basic awareness and understanding of religious diversity, including Maori spirituality, Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, Islamic, Jewish and Sikh faiths, and ethnic training for police recruits, including hate crime training.
Forum that you put together, Stakeholder Forum, you've extended an invitation for us to come. And as we have come into, we say, your home today to accept your invitation, we would then like to extend a reciprocal invitation to the Federation and invite you into Police National Headquarters. We would then like to sit down with you and see, have you look at our police ethnic strategy, see where you can assist us in making some positive engagement with the Muslim community. We would then further like to take that to a local district level and see within your local areas what are your issues. Are you being harassed? Do you have issues with family violence, youth, verbally, from today's on youth and women? Then we'd like to sit down and give you some concrete outcomes. And at the end of it, a year later, we can stand here and be held accountable for what we promised you and what we have delivered. Change Makers Association here in Wellington has a motto, nothing about us should be discussed without us. So the same way, we would not like to see us making any initiative regarding the Muslim community without you sitting around the table and at least having a voice. So thank you very much for your patience. Apologies.
Mike Green spoke on some of the foreign policies of New Zealand with respect to Islamic countries, including 1. New Zealand's support of multilateralism and its work through the UN to try and foster peace in the Middle East. 2. New Zealand has a new foreign policy focused on intercultural and interfaith dialogue. 3. New Zealand's belief in a lasting peace in the Middle East that will require the Palestinian issue to be resolved.
I think if you look at press statements from ministers' offices, if you look at voting in the United Nations and statements we make there, I think you'll find we speak out quite strongly on those issues. The difference is that they don't have quite the same profile as Tibet, which was a sudden eruption, whereas the Israeli-Palestine issue has been going on for 60 years, and I think it has to be really major for people to see it in quite the same light as Tibet.
4. New Zealand engagements with Islamic countries in the Middle East, Asia and in reconstruction in Iraq and Afghanistan, the free trade negotiations and other initiatives between New Zealand and Indonesia and Malaysia. According to Mike, these foreign policies help to create a stable environment both internally and externally for strong families to thrive. The 4th session of the forum was chaired by Major Abdul Latif Smith and was sub-themed Building Healthy and Educated Communities. Karen Sewell, Chief Executive, Ministry of Education, Margie Appiah, Deputy Director General, Sector Capability and Innovation Directorate, Ministry of Health, and Deb Hurdle, Manager of Push Play, the Sports and Recreation of New Zealand Association, SPARC, addressed the forum at this session. Karen Sewell spoke on the importance of education in building a strong community and the necessity of providing new ways of giving children education that is relevant for their life today. Karen observed that, quote, young people are more successful when schools engage with their families and education is made relevant and fun, end quotes. Education is a life experience involving schools, community and families sharing a common vision for children on how to make them successful, compassionate and responsible to themselves and others.
A common vision. That vision is for our children to be successful as people we would like them to be compassionate, responsible toward themselves and others, and confident to face the challenges of their future. So I leave you with that challenge as we embark on this journey together. Kia kaha ki te Māori, kia manunui, kia tō, nore rā, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Margie Apia used a model to discuss the health needs of an individual and the role the district health boards play in providing health care to the community. She discussed health strategies such as healthy eating to improve nutrition and health in the community, and advised communities to try to connect to their district health boards in order to improve the health of their communities.
Connect with your district health board, your primary healthcare organisation, has been quite key organisations that will help you to ensure that they, and giving them your advice on how they can deliver their services better to meet the needs of your community is a really key factor.
I think, there are some people out there who think, well, yes, sport's a great thing, we all want to watch our various sporting heroes do well, but for many it's a distraction. It's a distraction from the commitments we have to our family, it's a distraction from the commitments we have to our work, and it's something that's seen as maybe somewhat frivolous, something that we don't have time for. But I'd like to suggest to you today that that's not the case, and that in fact sport and recreation in New Zealand, for the Muslim community as for any other community, are vital for the actual cornerstones of our society. Some of the areas that sport and physical recreation have a key part to play are around health, education and social cohesion. All of those things are important for your communities and for your integration into the New Zealand community.
Deb Hurdle discussed the importance of sports and recreation in building healthy individuals and communities. Quote, "Sports improves health, provides education and social cohesion," end quotes. Deb listed a number of health issues that are helped by physical activities and used the sayings, "A child of sport is a child out of court," and "A family that plays together stays together," to underscore the importance of sports in building healthy families and communities. Dr. Mustafa Farouk, First Vice President and Dava Coordinator of FIANZ, gave the concluding remarks and thanked all those who participated at the first Stakeholder Forum and wished them a safe trip back to their stations.
The main reason why we have Stakeholder Forum is just for us to be able to engage with our stakeholders parties. And we hope that the outcome of this engagement will lead to capacity building within our community. And that's why we bring our leaders up here today for us to listen to all these wonderful presentations that were made from morning until now. I don't know about you, but personally, my capacity has been improved. And I'm sure for all of us that are here today, we have learned a lot, and hopefully we can take the knowledge that we have gathered today back to our communities. Now we know our stakeholders, we know what we can get from them, they know what they can get from us. So it's up to us specifically to make sure that all these services that have been mentioned are appreciated. Now before I give my own vote of thanks on behalf of the Federation of Islamic Association, I would like first of all to thank God, Allah, for the opportunities He gave us to gather here today safely and to gather and do our own proceedings and come to the end of it. Just like the way God has brought us today here, I also pray that God will take us all back home to our own families safe.
Farouk said the outcome of the first Stakeholder Forum will form part of a book on raising a Muslim Kiwi, which FIANZ plans to publish following its first national convention, to be held at the end of 2008 or early 2009. Forum conclusions. The goal of the forum to bring the leadership of Muslims and relevant stakeholder organisations in the building of a strong Muslim family in New Zealand was realised. New Zealand government policies, as outlined in various presentations, and the structures existing in the country support and encourage communities, including the Muslim community, to build strong families. Some of the current policies discussed at the forum were specifically created to engage Muslims. Other policies, like the interest-free student loans and the shared equity housing scheme, though not targeted to Muslims specifically, operate on principles that make it easy for Muslims to acquire education and housing, and at the same time abide by their religious principles of not taking usurious loans. There isn't any indication that the New Zealand government will in the future create policies that will limit the freedom or prevent Muslims from maintaining their identities or in building strong families. Families are not built by government policies. Governments can only help by creating the environment. It is the membership of the family, the neighbourhoods and the communities that can build strong families. Sufficient tips have been provided by various speakers on how to raise a strong family that were consistent with Islamic principles. The challenge is on New Zealand Muslims individually and as a community to continue to raise strong families and to seek help if they face difficulties in the process.
Forum is a historic forum as far as the Federation is concerned. As far as the Muslim community is concerned, it was indeed a real success. We had the Prime Minister, we have ministers coming and talking to the community. We had very senior government officials from various departments who have come and made their presentations to the community. This is the first time that we had something like that. We hope that it is done on a bigger and better basis.